Good morning, Year 5. We're now moving on in our writing to talking about David Attenborough's message. It's really serious, and we have to pick out the main points that he's going to make. Now, you've been given an awful lot of help in terms of a transcript of what he says and some photographs, and you may be thinking, oh, that's just too much. So my advice to you is just use what is useful. If the video is useful to you, just use the video. If you find that looking at pictures helps you to explain things, use them. And if you're a wordy person, use a transcript or part of it. It goes to 2 pages. It's quite long, but all it is says what David says on the film to remind you. So what we're going to do today is to write some notes to inform and explain, because tomorrow we're going to use those notes to help us to inform people, to inform our readers and explain the problem. We need to try and put it in our own words, but we need to understand exactly what we're going to say. So that's what today's about. We're making notes. Now, I've got the video up here ready, the film from YouTube. And just to really emphasise my important bit on the slide, that this ends and something else loads up after it. You really want to stop it after it ends and refresh it and not leave it to carry on. That's important because you never know what pops up on YouTube next. Right, let's get down to business. I'm going to play the film and I'm going to stop it after every little bit. Now that's the way I can get notes really easily. You might want to watch the whole thing through and then watch it again in little bits. Okay, so you need to make that decision. So here we go. I'm going to play a little bit and then I'm going to show you how I would make notes.
How do we create a future in which both people and nature can thrive? This is the biggest question of our times.
Now, there we have it. I'm going to look at my transcript and see what David has actually just said. How do we create a future in which both people and nature can thrive? This is the biggest question of our time. So I'm going to make some notes. I'm going to put some little bullet points and I'm going to say, this is the biggest, I'm going to write it in capital letters, the biggest question, this is the biggest challenge I'm going to write. This is the biggest challenge of our times. Okay, and that will leave my reader thinking, well, what challenge? What's the biggest challenge of our times? What are we talking about? And then I'm going to add a second bullet point, future, and I'm going to write humans, and V for versus nature. Or I'm going to use his word thrive. If you thrive, that means you're living really well, everything's fine, everybody can live well and live a long and healthy life. If there are some words that are used that you don't know the meaning of, there is a glossary at the beginning of the presentation. So have a little look at that and that might help you. If you still don't know, use a dictionary or a thesaurus. So, 2 points. I think that's important because that sets out what the problem is. It's humans versus nature. We all need to get on and it's the biggest challenge of our times. I'm writing the whole of that because it's actually a quote from the film. So I'm going to put it in one inverted comma like that. Let's carry on.
In the next few decades, we need to do something unprecedented. Achieve a sustainable existence on Earth.
Right, so we've got the next few decades, and if you're not sure, a decade is 10 years. Next few decades, okay, we need to do something unprecedented. Now that word is tricky, even tricky to spell, unprecedented. unprecedented. That means never before have we faced this. Something that's never before been done is unprecedented. There's no precedent for it. Okay, and we want a sustainable. Now here we use the words existence. I'm going to put the word life. Sustainable life on Earth. That's the thing. That's the challenge. In the next few, lots of 10 years, something never before has done, we've got to create sustainable life on Earth. Right. I love that picture, by the way.
But how do we do it? We can start by understanding how we got to this point. 20,000 years ago, humankind consisted of less than 1 million hunter-gatherers across the globe. We lived within the resources on offer, in balance with nature.
Now there's a question. How did we get in this mess in the first place? Okay. Well, you can quote 20,000 years ago, or you can put something like many thousands of years ago. It's up to you, but I'm going to be precise. 20,000 years ago, and I'm going to shorten years ago. Okay. There was a balance. There were about 1 million people. He used the word hunter-gatherers. I'm going to use the word people. Okay. And more importantly, we lived within our resources. Now that means what was available on Earth, we didn't use any more of it. We used what was there. So you could write, we used what was there. So I'm going to put that as well. We used what was there. That's two ways of saying the same thing. You could put one or the other, or put it into your own words. Okay, let's carry on and listen.
A strategy that could theoretically last forever. But it wasn't an easy life. Nature determined our survival. We used our unique minds to challenge that reality. We learnt how to tame the wild.
I really like that phrase. Some of those words that David uses, you might not even understand what he's saying. But actually, what we're getting is the main gist of what he's saying. So he said we used what was there, okay, but he's also saying we used our minds, that means our thinking, our cunning, to, as would overcome problems. So if the problem wasn't there was any food, we worked to think about, well, how could we overcome that problem? So that's probably very important.
Get more from the environment. Our population boomed.
Okay, we used our minds to overcome problems. This is the thing, to get more from the environment. So instead of living with what was there, when we used our minds to overcome problems, we got more from the environment. So we were taking more and more and more. And not only that, if you look at this picture and then look at the next picture,
As did our demands.
look at the difference. This is Paris in France. You can tell from the Eiffel Tower. But look at the amount of buildings there are compared to what came before. So I think I need to add that, not from the notes, but from just looking at the pictures. The population grew. Oh my, how did it grow?
Every time a new problem arose, we solved it, altering Earth's entire surface in the process.
Now those two pictures, the picture of the water, which went out to the dam, and the picture of people digging up the land, really, really tells a story even without the words, okay? We altered Earth's, I'm going to put the word entire, that means all of it, surface. So in solving our problems, we altered the surface and there was more of us to do it. I can see the problem coming up. I can see that I can explain this just from my few notes. Okay, let's listen on.
And now we have changed the world so profoundly, scientists have decided that Earth has entered a new phase of its existence. Welcome to the Anthropocene, the age of humans.
Now, I'm just going to move that film back because I want to look at that again. I'm going to move it back and I'm going to move it to this. Oh, let's go back a little bit more. Just to here.
Our surface in the process. And now we have changed the world so profoundly.
Just look at that picture. From those tiny little houses on the side of a mountain to Paris to this, which looks like it's in China or Japan. And look at it. I can barely see any green. We've altered the word so well that now, and this bit after was maybe confusing, Anthropocene means now it's the age of humans. So we've altered the Earth's entire surface. I'm going to add on so much that scientists call this time, I'm going to put it in quotes, in inverted commas, the age of humans. Wow, the age of humans. They call it the Anthropocene. You don't need to worry about that, but anthropod means of man, humans, and scene, C-E-N-E, means now. So now, humans dominate, and look at that. They certainly dominate. I can see trains, I can see vehicles, very bright lights, must be using a lot of energy. So I'm looking at pictures and I'm asking myself questions and I'm thinking about, well, there's a problem right in front of me. I need to explain that to my reader to show them the problem that we've got too many humans. I'm going to underline the age of humans right there.